The way that we were talking originally, which got me super excited, is wouldn't it be cool if we could create a way for a top producer who wants to be a true entrepreneur and own their business, who has otherwise not been able to, whether it's, they're a super busy mom and they have multiple kids that they got to also take care of while they're being the breadwinner, or if it's, somebody else who just didn't think that they could do it,
Right.
and provide them the opportunity to do it. And that got me super excited into making that switch. Like, let's create a way for these people to really, really own their own company at the end of the day that hasn't existed. And so from that, it's been wonderful and a passion of mine to be able to allow that for people who traditionally aren't broker owners, which are women and minorities, and flip that on its head and say, if I gave you an opportunity, a way to do it, do you want to? Because if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
But that just didn't exist. And to be at the forefront of that and to take a very old industry and to quote unquote disrupt it, that was exciting to me.
Welcome back to the Transaction Care Podcast. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lilly, like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. My goal with each episode is to demystify the business of real estate and leave you empowered to start your journey today. Visit transactioncarepodcast.com to stream past episodes and to learn more. So today we have a very, very special guest. All of my guests are special, but this particular person will always have a special place in my heart and in my personal journey. I am just so grateful to have her on the show. And thank you for taking time out. And I'm going to read your bio real quick, and then we'll just jump straight into it. In her role as CBO, Hilary Saunders ensures all side agent partners have access to top-tier customer service, business management, legal, and brokerage teams. Prior to co-founding Side, she opened a boutique brokerage in San Francisco and a law firm focused on estate planning and real estate transactions. Hilary holds BA degrees in communications, German, accounting from the University of San Diego, and a JD and LLM taxation degrees from Golden Gate University. And she also co-hosts the Own It podcast, and most importantly, she's a mother. So we're going to get into all of that today. And thank you again, Hilary, for being here.
You are so welcome. I love it. This is going to be so much fun.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So as I mentioned, a special place in my heart and my journey, and we were just talking about this offline, but Hilary, if you've been following my journey on this show, I always mention there was someone that called me in 2018 saying, we have this TC role, but unfortunately, you have to work from home. And at the time, you all know that I was in a situation, but we're not going to get into all of those details. But essentially what I'm getting at is first impressions are everything, because we had initially interviewed and it was one of those, if anything else comes up, I'll give you a call. And she did. And I'm just so grateful for you and for that moment, because it essentially changed my life. And here we are today getting to know you on your journey, which I'm so excited to know about, because I've watched pretty much every interview I found on YouTube about you, but I just wanted to dig a little deeper and see how you got here. So let's do it.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. I remember we were having that conversation. There was a Mexican Filipino fusion restaurant at the corner of like Fifth or Fourth. No, it was Fourth. And
yeah. I think that was Howard
in San Francisco. It's no longer there, but that was a delicious restaurant. But yeah, I remember chatting and just being like, oh my gosh, this woman actually knows all the things about real estate transactions, especially in San Francisco, and one of the craziest, very notoriously pitfall-y cities in the US. So you impressed me right off the bat. So there's that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. And it was one of those life-changing conversations that you don't realize is happening until everything comes together in alignment and you get those phone calls and the people remember you. But yeah, it's not about me. It's all about Hilary today. So I'm like, am I on your show right now?
Well, it's a conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And it is those details that stick in your head that a person, the impression that a person makes. And I think it's super important to always listen and understand and pick out qualities of people and realize that even if today is not the right time or you don't have the role for them, that keep them in the back of your mind because their skill set will most likely come around and you might need them. So never burn a bridge and always remember who you talk to.
Exactly, exactly. So that's a good segue into learning why real estate. How did you get here? Were you the kid that was selling candy and always had that entrepreneurial spirit, in growing up, or how did you get here?
Yeah.
What was the
Crazy path.
journey? Yeah.
What's funny is growing up, I had like a massive drive. I was a competitive swimmer, always had perfect grades. Like I'm super competitive, very driven. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm not that kid who was like at the age of 10, I knew I was going to be a vet. I had
Right.
no idea. My dad was a commercial airline pilot. My mom worked at an embassy for a while and then ended up teaching in our local schools. And so for me, it was, all right, I'm going to go to college, figure it out. I loved numbers, was super good at it, thought I would do accounting, hence the accounting degree. Got into like the advanced accounting and realized that I miss talking to people a lot. I'm super outgoing, extrovert, love engaging with people. And then I switched and went to communications and was like, oh, I found my people. I really liked storytelling and interviewing and finding the why and hearing what drives people. What are they trying to accomplish? How can I help them accomplish it? I don't know how, but I can. And then graduated in 2004. The job market was the shits. Nothing
Right.
great was happening at that point in time, at least not where I was. You could go and get like I don't know, like a salesy type role, but it wasn't calling to me. So I decided, you know what, I'll just go to law school. That sounds fun.
Yeah, everyone says that.
Right. And then about halfway through law school, I was watching some movie and I questioned myself and I was like, maybe I should have gone to med school. This medicine stuff is pretty cool. But that's a whole I have to go back to school and get
Right.
more prereq. So I threw that out the window. But during that time, I was watching a lot of HGTV. Don't kill me, but I love HGTV. And I
Guilty pleasures for a
really
lot of us.
love every piece of real estate is different. I
Yes.
mean, it could even be cookie cutter, same builder, doesn't matter. The piece of land is different and everybody's story is different. You think that they're, oh, just the same old, same old. No, they each have different, histories, reasons they want to buy, reasons they have to sell, and the intricacies of the detail in accomplishing that big transaction that sparked something in me that I wanted to figure out, okay, maybe there's a way that I can help people achieve their goals and their dreams in this area. And with my legal training, it actually provided me with a tool set and understanding that the average realtor didn't have, and a perspective that gave my clients a bit of a leg up on the competition, so to speak.
Right.
And so I got a specialization in law school in real estate specifically. And with that came an in-depth knowledge of landlord tenant in one of the most controversial landlord tenant cities in the country, if not the world, which was San Francisco. And so straight out of law school, I went into landlord tenant litigation, like deep end, just dive right in.
At least you knew at the time you wouldn't run out of work.
Right.
Job security.
That is a true statement that I was not thinking of at the time. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is like, just like feed me to the wolves. These like people were just at each other's throats. They were, you saw slumlords, you saw tenants taking advantage of every single rule and regulation, and the poor property owner is stuck. And the good ones get, taken advantage of. So at the same time, I was getting my master's in law and taxation, really focusing on estate planning and understanding why people with the biggest asset of their lives, right, their house, don't put it in a trust because
Right.
nobody knows about it.
No one.
So
Yeah.
in California at the time, the bare minimum, which would have, if you died and you had over $150,000 in assets, that's everything all combined. If you did not have a trust, you would have to go to probate. And then that's where your family gets screwed because you're
Right.
paying the lawyers, you're paying the court, you're paying the government, and all of that could be avoided. So like I had this light bulb moment when I was in getting my master's, which was, if I can help one family
Right.
save at their most darkest hour, they're, when they're totally stressed out, they've lost a loved one or whatever, if I can like help them avoid that or put a sense of security in that, oh, we don't have to worry about grandma's house, it will be taken care of.
Mhm.
That was like my big light bulb calling moment. Like, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
Save the world. Save one family at a time.
One family at a time. But in that whole experience, I have, reinforced like clients that I've helped with their stories and their struggles, and the ones that I've helped avoid them,
Right.
the best, seriously, the best. So fast forward, sold real estate for a big box, realized it wasn't my thing. And I wasn't really being my individual self because the corporation was controlling how I marketed myself, what I said, what my website looked like, whatever. And so I went out on my own because, again, like, I'll do it myself. I felt like I could because of my legal training. I understood how to navigate creating my corporation and setting up my entity and what the state of California with the Department of Real Estate required.
Mm-hmm.
And so I opened my law firm and my real estate firm at the same time. And they went really, really well hand in hand because I had estate planning clients who I was like, okay,
Right.
let's look at your real estate portfolio. Let's understand what you're trying to accomplish. And flip side, I would help people buy or sell a house and then be like, okay, do you have an estate plan done? Because if you don't, let me teach you something. It was never that I was selling. It was more of I was educating.
Right.
And I think that was my sweet spot.
Yeah, and I think the education portion is a huge area that real estate lacks. Like you said, like the big box brokerage, very cookie cutter. They manage what you say, but it doesn't go beyond that. It doesn't see the person eye to eye, it doesn't take their story into consideration. Like this person could lose everything that they've worked so hard for over one single moment. And yeah, you have to run your business, you have to make money, but you also had a whole different perspective, which I feel like has led to, if you're watching the visual episode, all the logos behind her, which is, I feel
A lot.
it was a lot. And when I first met her, it was just one door pane, a glass window pane with a few logos, and now there's several doors and several logos. But I feel like it's that mindset of it's not all about me that will take you further in business and life and in human interaction than just cut the check on to the next. And so where did your confidence come from? Are you working with coaches? Are you in therapy, mentors? Like, who is like guiding you? Because I know what it's like to say, I'll do it all myself. I got this. And maybe that was all you had. So how did you maintain this mindset throughout this time?
I think there's something that gets ingrained in you or ingrained in me as a kid, which I think swimming had a big piece of that, because at the end of any, competition, it's on you whether you do well, you don't do well, you didn't do as good as you wanted to. And then you go back and you look and you say, okay, why didn't I accomplish that goal? Was it that I didn't put enough training in? Did I not do the right kind of training? Was my headspace not there? So
Right.
I've had really good coaches along the way who have ultimately given as many tools as I can take advantage of, and then it's up to me. So for me, it was a lot of just being confident in myself from a young age and always being willing to try something new and being okay at failing at it and then trying it again or trying it a different way and really experimenting, because I think similarly with like having a legal degree, it can go any direction. If, the real estate thing didn't work out for me, I was like, that's fine, because I love estate planning and probate and I can do this for my whole life and be very, very happy. But I think my passion for helping the end client really made the real estate piece flourish, which then I've parlayed when we created Side, in that my passion has moved to allow other top producers give back to their community by helping them create their own companies, doing it with their own flavor, and specializing however they want to specialize, which they didn't have before. So that gets me super excited. And if we, in anything in business, if you try something and it doesn't work out, just take a minute and recognize it, honor that it didn't work out, and look at, okay, what in those building blocks didn't work? Was it a piece of it? Was it the whole concept? Was it, that you really didn't care secretly and you didn't put your passion in it and that just shouldn't work out anyway? Yeah, I think you have to have confidence in failure is okay.
Absolutely. I think there's so many more opportunities from that failure, because if you're so focused on the one thing, you're almost kind of blocking your blessings in a sense, because it's like, well, now learn from that and run. You could create 10 other opportunities from this, or like you said, maybe this just wasn't for you. Sometimes when there's so much resistance, it's just take the L and keep it moving.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not like a call it traditional religious person, but I am a spiritual person.
Yes.
And I take a lot of cues and comfort in like the universe as a whole. And for me, if something doesn't work out, or if I'm really, a challenging situation, I have a true belief that there's a reason, and I just may not know it yet.
Right.
And so I have to have patience and understanding that, you know what, give it time, and then there will be a moment of, oh, I know why I needed to learn that, or why I experienced that. It's to help me in this new situation.
Exactly. It really isn't our timelines. As much as we want to control every single part of our lives, the seeds, I always tell people, just keep planting seeds. Just keep planting the seeds, as long as it's within the scope of work or whatever you're passionate about, or it feeds your personality or your inner child, whatever the case may be. It's eventually going to happen. It's going to grow into something. It just may not look the way you ultimately envisioned. But if you keep at it, it'll grow into something even better.
100%.
Have the patience. And going back to sports, because I also played sports in high school and college, and there's something about doing something like playing a sport, but also the ability to get better at it just really creates this foundation for people. And not everyone's going to be an athlete, not everyone's going to be an artist, but I feel like the team dynamic and having someone that can see parts of you that you don't see, like the blind spots, and they recognize that in you, does ultimately create leaders and builds that confidence that we lack, in doing things that, on a consistent basis, seeing that growth and realizing like, oh man, where I was freshman year, now senior year, I thought I was the best freshman year, but now look at me. So in the event you were running your own brokerage, now that's growing and eventually turns into Side. What was that part of your life like? What was going on there? Like, what was the switch from there's something more to this? And
I think, yeah,
I know you're not doing that alone. I know you have an amazing team. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was really interesting because at that point in time, I had a young son. Braden was, I think, 2 at the time that I first started chatting with my other 2 co-founders. Goodness, I'm thinking podcast, co-founders, Guy and Ed. And they were looking at the real estate space and how to disrupt it using technology.
Mhm.
And I do not have a tech background. I'm proficient, but I'm not a designer or creator or anything. I
Right.
can't code worth anything. But it was interesting because the concept that they were bringing to the table, we had this really long discussion where they were asking the question, why don't more top realtors go on their own and create their own brokerages or their own companies? And I said, oh, that's easy. It's because it can be super expensive. It's very complicated.
Mhm.
And then you have to create your own marketing. You have to do a lot of the foundation yourself, which in a top producer's mind takes time away from what they're really good at, which is selling or listing properties. And so they see a diminution in their bottom line for that period of time. And for me, why did I do it? Because I had the comfortability with the legal and the business, but also I had my law firm that was producing, right?
Mhm.
It was doing very well. And so I could focus and take a step back and create this real estate company. And so the way that we were talking originally, which got me super excited, is wouldn't it be cool if we could create a way for a top producer who wants to be a true entrepreneur and own their business, who has otherwise not been able to, whether it's, they're a super busy mom and they have multiple kids that they got to also take care of while they're being the breadwinner, or if it's, somebody else who just didn't think that they could do it, and
Right.
provide them the opportunity to do it. And that got me super excited into making that switch. Like, let's create a way for these people to really, really own their own company at the end of the day that hasn't existed. And so from that, it's been wonderful and a passion of mine to be able to allow that for people who traditionally aren't broker owners, which are women and minorities,
Mhm.
and flip that on its head and say, if I gave you an opportunity, a way to do it, do you want to? Because if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
But that just didn't exist. And to be at the forefront of that and to take a very old industry and to
Mhm.
quote unquote disrupt it, that was exciting to me.
Yeah, and that was something that stood out to me when we first met and had that lunch. And we're telling me I was with you and Guy, and you both were explaining this whole concept. And this was around, I'd say 2017, I think. Yeah, because I quit in 2018, so it was not too far off.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you guys were still small and building and in startup mode. But how did you all meet and be I'm thinking of in sync. How did you guys come to be in sync with each other in that
That's really
moment? Because
funny.
I
The
talk
same
about
the same way I
collaboration over
found
competition a
this,
lot.
yeah, it's the same way that I found you. I stalked you on LinkedIn. I took a turn out of Guy's playbook. He stalked me, I think, for 3 months on LinkedIn.
Oh,
He
wow.
kept messaging me saying, hey, we just want, just buy you a cup of coffee, whatever, let's chat. I have some questions. And finally, I mean, persistence is key. Will
Yes.
give that to him, and having this really creative vision and being open to a collaboration,
Hmm.
right? So they were looking at it from technology and a very old industry, and there's lots of opportunity there. And I was looking at it from a entrepreneur side, that I had just done this and
Right.
I know exactly where the pain points are. If we can eliminate those pain points, it will open the doors for all these other people to be able to own their business too. And I had a soft spot, obviously, for moms who,
Mhm.
think that they're not going to be a broker owner or in leadership because of whatever. And also minorities who traditionally are not represented in the C-suite of real estate companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so it was motivating to just be in conversation with both of you at that time and it being so fresh and now seeing where it's landed today. What are some tips you can give people when it comes to collaborating, especially at such a high performing, state of just existence in business? And I love the word disruption because you guys really did disrupt the industry. I've been working in the industry since 2004. So I'd seen the same just lull of stagnation in a sense. So talking to you guys, it's like, yeah, why wasn't anyone doing this? So why I'm sure people had the idea, but never took it forward. But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because the two industries that I was entrenched in, right? Real estate and law, both are old as dirt, and and they rarely see innovation. Some companies come around and try and innovate and come up with new models, whether it's iBuyer or it's, who knows, some newfangled CRM thing.
Mhm.
But those are not really giving the ultimate business owner, the realtor, right? They're all independent contractors. Unless you are the few that are already broker owners, majority are not, but they think they run their own business or they think they own it, but they really don't. They're running somebody else's business. They're working for another company that they're promoting their equity in, and they're gaining market share for that other company. Why are they not betting on themselves and giving themselves equity, or, an asset that they can, at the end of the day, sell or transfer down to children if that's what they wish to do, or merge with another company, like have an actual asset that has value.
Right.
And that concept, I think, for us, Guy and Ed are inherently entrepreneurs as well. And I think the three of us all agreeing on the underlying mission, but looking at it from different angles allowed us to, invent, reinvent, make headway, and take leaps that I probably wouldn't have done on my own. And at the early stages, it was interesting because we had 7 partners who joined us and had faith that this little not known startup in San Francisco could actually provide them the types of tools that were equal to, if not better than, any competition, and that we actually considered them to be partners. And therefore we had a vested interest to make their business grow in the way they wanted to, not in a traditional sense, like you have to grow X, Y, Z over year, but we listened and heard what they wanted to accomplish. And then we customized ways to get there. And that, to me, is the most fulfilling, is looking back. Those 7 initial partners are still with us. They're still our partners. And their ideas of growth and goals change over the years, because I'm putting words in their mouths, but I'm sure that they didn't think at that point in time that in almost 7 years they would be where they are now.
Absolutely. And I remember visiting the office those first couple of months and having meetings, and those few teams that were those initial teams, they would come in the meetings and hype you guys up. And I'd never experienced that in any of the jobs I've had in real estate or any of the offices. I mean, I only worked for one for a really long time, but I just, even visiting other offices or talking to other people in the industry at that time, it didn't have that level of joy, I guess you could say, within like that culture of just, we're all in this together, even though I'm running my own separate business, but I'm hyping up those that are running side because I believe in them just as much as they believe in me. And they were hyping up us TCs and whoever was in those meetings at the time, like, oh, you guys are going to love it here, don't go anywhere else. And I think that's so rare, especially in this industry, to maintain and to have, and to have so many people be on board with that why and that mission. And I'm curious to know the flip side of that. Like, were there critics? I'm pretty sure there were, whether it's to your face or not. But how did you all navigate that aspect of the business? Just the people coming and hating on you or saying it's not going to work?
I think there's 2 pieces of that, which is there is the mindset of scarcity, right? The traditional way of looking at a real estate office or in a community, everyone is considered quote unquote competition, that you're going up against, 2 or 3 competitors for the listing. So there's a flip in mindset that if you consider it to be abundance and you look at real estate transactions on a nationwide scale, or even how much dollar figure of homes sell in any given market, there is plenty to be had.
Yes.
It is all about finding the right client for you. And that's true for us as a corporation too, is that our clients, our partners need to be in line with our mission, and we need to be bought into their mission. So that's why we consider them to be partners, because it is like a date, right? You go out on a couple, introductory meetings, figuring out what gets them excited, what are their goals, how do they operate, and will this be a good mix together? And if they're not, that's okay.
Right.
We are very specific at who we want to partner with, and that does not mean the majority of people who have a license, because we're very good at what we do, but we don't say that we're good at, other things. There's plenty of other companies out there that have niches that are not ours. And so when people, said, good luck getting market share in San Francisco, right?
Right.
Well, combined, we're now second.
That
So,
part.
but you won't see collectively that is side, because we propel and power so many unique boutiques in San Francisco. That is in and of itself is heartwarming and exciting to me. There's always a we can do things better mentality that I have. And so I look at everybody and say, okay, great. We accomplished X. Could we have done it better? Or what's the next step? And how do we get there? So I think as far as like people who don't think that you can do it, prove them wrong, but prove them wrong in a very, very strategic way.
Yes.
Being kind, not
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And starting out with the 7 partner teams that, got the ball rolling, was the initial vision for you all just San Francisco, or like I mentioned, all of the logos behind you, where are you all at now in terms of the market?
Yeah.
And is it all in the US, or
Yes.
go ahead and brag a little bit. Go ahead and throw it all
Sure.
out there.
No, we are all in the US. We are very actively in about 10 markets. We're in 17 total right now. We have a new market that's coming online the beginning of the year. I won't say which one it is. We'll leave that to everyone to figure out at the beginning of the year. But we did focus heavily on the Bay Area to start with, because we wanted to get a proof of concept. We wanted to make sure that we had product market fit, that we proved ourselves, not just to ourselves, but to those around us. And so for the whole first year, we just stayed with those 7 partners. We did not expand at all. And we wanted to really dive in and figure out where their pain points were and what we could help solve and what we could help teach as far as being business owners. And so that next year, when we had that and we could say, okay, over the last 12 months, we've helped accomplish these things. Then we went bigger and we stayed in California for the first 3 years, I want to say. And then we started talking about expanding. And so we are active up and down the West Coast, the East Coast, Texas, Florida. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So just for a bit of context, the timeline of all of this is around 2016, 17, right?
We officially launched, I guess, in September of 2016, but consider 2017 the whole year as our first year.
Wow. And at the time of this recording, it is October 2023. So in just a short amount of time, they've not only disrupted the industry, but they are revolutionizing it as well. And expansion, I feel like this is just the beginning for what Side can do or will do. I'm excited to find out, in the beginning of the year who's next. And I'm now thinking about, okay, say there's someone that's curious about real estate, passionate about real estate. They're sitting on their couch right now, but just don't know how to get to a Side. How can they, maybe they have Side on their vision board, right? They're sitting at home planning out the next 5 years or 2 years of their life. What are some qualities you would say a person would need to aim towards something that, or maybe there's someone out there wanting to create their own version of side, who knows? But what would you say are some qualities that a person would need to have in order to climb these mountains in a sense?
I think there's different ways to accomplish that. It depends on what your angle is. There's the easy to understand way, which is you're a realtor, right?
Right.
And you are a top performer and you want to either have your own company, build a team, but you want ownership. That's a big key. If you don't want ownership, that's fine. Like nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not the right spot. But if you are wanting to really put a mark and be a boutique in your community and be an owner of your destiny, so to speak, then, if we are in a market, great. You can reach out, side.com, super easy to get a hold of us. Or if we're not in your market, reach out anyway, because you never know what happens. You don't ever know where the universe shifts and things happen. But from an involvement standpoint, because we partner with the best, the top of the top agents and professionals in any given area, there's always opportunity to be involved, whether it's being on a team as, working your way up. Hey, I'm a newer agent. Maybe this is a great fit. I can get mentored by these people who actually have done this. And it's not just coming from a corporation saying this is how you become a top realtor. It's from actual mentors in the community. Or if it's, working on a team, there's transaction coordination, maybe you're a marketing guru, maybe you're a website designer, whatever it is. If you have a passion for real estate and a passion for being an entrepreneur and supporting those who are entrepreneurs, then there's always an opportunity.
Yeah. And I love how the team aspect, that theme keeps coming into play, because we really can't do everything alone. We can only get so far alone. And even with hosting this podcast, I'm approaching a year in December. I'm like, okay, I think
that's so exciting. Good for you.
Thank you. I think it's like when we are in pursuit of what our passion is or what we desire to do for our future, that team element will always come into play, and finding your space within a team, starting the team, being the captain of that team. And I think that's amazing. And I love how all of the services you guys even offer, it's like logo, website, like you don't have to think about those things because it's intimidating, when you're starting off as a solopreneur, having to figure out coding, language, copy, like what the heck, and then especially when you're starting out, you may not even have a budget to hire someone to do all that stuff. And all of that is built in the side system, which is, I love. And again, something that not everyone is offering or mindful of.
My classic is takeaways, right? One is realize where you're better spending your time, right?
Yes.
How are you moving the needle forward for your end goal? And I learned that early on when I started the real estate in the law office, which was I had an accounting degree. I understand how to do accounting. And I hired someone to come teach me QuickBooks. Well, my brain does not operate the same way that program operates. And I couldn't figure it out. Like I had a 4.0 in accounting. Like, really? I can't figure out QuickBooks. What am I missing here? And then it just clicked. I'm like, my billable hours are way more over here doing actual work than it is doing the bookkeeping. So I immediately hired a bookkeeper. Best decision in my entire life. I still have one to this day because I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
So that is a takeaway. Figure out where is your money best spent and where is your time. Consider your time as money too, because you could be doing something that is way more productive if you are willing to let go of things. So that's a big one. And then the other one is replace yourself every 6 months. A very, very smart person told me this early on in starting side. And I was like, it's great. You understand everything that's going on, but you're still controlling it all and you're doing all of it. Why? It's like, well, because it's easier for me to do it than teach somebody else to do it. Well, yes and no, meaning that, yeah, you could probably do it faster, but wouldn't it be wiser to create a system, a process, teach someone that system and process, and then give it to them so they can then make it better? and then you go do the next project. And that I've kept as a hallmark for me since then. It's like replace myself every 6 months, figure out what I'm working on, what am I trying to accomplish, and then create a process, and then hand it off.
That is such a gem, a key. Rewind this part, people, for those listening, rewind that. I know I am. I'm like taking notes. I'm like, yeah, replace myself every 6 months. Like, why am I waiting for a whole year? I mean, it's too late now. December's right around the corner. But that's such a great point, because I think that level of control we think is the best way, when in actuality, it's like relinquish some of that stress off of your plate and focus on your strengths. One of the first things I did when I was getting into the business world was a SWOT analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yeah.
And it's like just getting to know yourself. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to lose sleep over editing podcasts anymore. So let me find someone to do that, who's trained, who has education, the time, who wants to do that.
And also, that's that scarcity abundance switch.
Yeah.
The scarcity is, oh my gosh, my job, someone's going to take my job. I'm going to lose my job because somebody else will come and do it. No. You are actually showing more leadership and more willingness to step up and step out there if you get out of the way.
That part, 100%. And that goes for TCing, realtors, brokers, wherever you stand in this industry. But that 6 month replace yourself every 6 months is such a key. I appreciate that one. So as we've all experienced in the last 3 years, the pandemic, the downturn shift, the market is constantly shifting. How are you staying empowered through those times, and how are you empowering others to, stay faithful, essentially?
That's a good question. And one of my goals, and it continues to be a goal and almost like a North Star, if you will, is to elevate the real estate industry. And part of that, in my opinion, is to allow the people who are committed to this lifestyle of being a full-time, in it all the time real estate professional to be the ones who actually conduct the business. The people who have a license but only do 1 or 2 deals a year, be a referral only agent. You can still refer to people who are producing and get, a referral fee. What I want to do is I want to help the end consumer, the buyer seller, with their biggest transaction of their lives, work with someone who does this day in, day out, all the time, backwards, upside down, with their hands tied behind their back, and who has been through these cycles. Because I mean, if you think about it, are you going to go to a dentist that just, does 2 or 3 cavity fillings a year?
Right.
No, you're not. Right? You'll freak out if you do that.
We hope not.
But your biggest asset, you will. Why? Makes no sense. Anyway, off my soapbox. But what I'm getting at is that through the different market cycles, you learn what works and what doesn't work in those cycles, and experiencing the cycles, you are absorbing it. And through 07, 08, 09, we really learned short sales, REO. We learned that sphere of influence really matters, that it actually matters to be an advocate for your client and to be very interested in what is their end goal, and not to be freaked out. Oh my gosh, my house, which was worth $1 million, is now worth, 800 according to whomever. I better freak out and I better run away. No. You still are employed. You still make your payments. You still have equity in your house. And there are programs that if you need funding, like let's talk about that, but you don't just up your arms and run away. So the pandemic and the, call it, unnatural market swing up was just that. It was unnatural. If you go back 20 years, because real estate does 20-year cycles, 15 to 20-year cycles, you can see that that's an outlier. And so the new-ish agents who are now freaking out because the market is quote unquote cooling don't have the perspective and understanding that actually, no, if you take out the irregular cycle of the pandemic, this is just bringing it back to a normal buyer's market where buyers actually had options.
Right.
Not the ones where they had to throw in their firstborn child to the seller to get a house, right? That
Right.
was what people were doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope, again, so many keys, just so many gems and keys. And we're going to wrap up this session shortly. There's going to be a bonus episode for anyone listening, so look out for that. But as we wrap up this conversation, again, I hope you guys have been taking notes. Replay this, bookmark this episode, replay it, share it with your friends, your colleagues, everyone in the real estate industry. Hilary, you've been so transparent and honest in this conversation. I hope to have you back again soon in the future, and we can talk about other stuff related to the business and how Side is doing. But for now, I'm curious to know, what is a typical day in the life of Hilary at this point in time? Mother, you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're traveling, how do you maintain these relationships with all these broker partners and such?
Yeah,
And still maintain that wonderful smile. You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? What is the secret sauce?
I love what I do. I absolutely love being able to make the dreams come true of other industry people who didn't have that before or didn't understand that they could have it. And for me, work being remote now, which I'm extremely blessed and thankful for, that came out of the pandemic, because we were able to move back to my hometown in Central Oregon, and my twin, almost 4-year-old daughters get to grow up in the same community that I grew up in, play outside in the woods every day. And we live in small town America, where it's just a blessing. It really is. And those community ties are amazing. But I do get to spend a lot of time with my relationships with our partners. I speak at different industry events, and I do love it because I get to see different perspectives and understand what's going on in like Florida in the South or the Northeast, and how that impacts us as a whole, and also like what the pockets are seeing. And then I can take that information back to the rest of the community and share it, which ultimately benefits everybody. It's really a cool space to be in. I really am enjoying it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm curious to know, now having all these years and, decades of experience, what is something you're glad you did starting out? And what is something you wish you had done starting, when you first started?
I'm very glad that I am a relationship person, meaning that I keep in touch with people.
Mm-hmm.
I do genuinely care what is going on in people's lives, and not that I'm nosy. I just like to see, is there an opportunity that I can provide some assistance, whether it's connecting to, I need somebody in New York for X, Y, or Z, or somebody here in Seattle to do this because, this is my life situation. I'm very glad that I don't burn bridges. I never have.
Mm-hmm.
And I never intend to, because the world is a very, very small place, and there is always an opportunity to be had. Something that I wish I had done, I wish I had really understood more of technology in college and embraced it more early on. Like I said, I'm proficient, but it's not my specialty. It would be really interesting. I wish I had that underlying foundation and knowledge to see where things are going, rather than being just the consumer of the information. But, you live and you learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was a great answer. Thank you. And finally, how do you care for yourself outside of work?
My favorite question to ask on my podcast.
Yeah.
Self-care is super important. It's the same thing that they tell you every time you get on a plane. You got to put your oxygen mask on first, otherwise you're no good to anybody else. I love being outside. So I will take calls and whatever, out walking, doesn't matter what the weather is. I will be at the ski slopes, do my meetings from the mountain. That is my happy place, and my window faces out, so I'm looking outside right now. And it is really my recharge space. So I spend a lot of time outside and enjoy it.
I love it. That was a perfect way to and this great conversation. So tell the people how they could follow you and get in contact.
Absolutely. We have our podcast is called Own It. So you can find it wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Just own it. So you can always reach me personally too, just Hilary@side.com. I have one L in my name. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but not the TikTok and not the X.
The X, yeah.
You gotta pick a couple.
Yeah, you gotta pick the ones that work best for you. So I will leave all of the Hilary's contact information in the description of this episode. Again, thank you for this awesome conversation. It was wonderful getting to know you a little bit more as well, and thank you publicly for changing my life and just making that phone call that one day. I don't know where I'd be today without it. And thanking you on behalf of other people as well who don't get the opportunity to do that. I'm choosing to speak for them. I don't know who they are, but thank you.
That's very kind. Thank you for the opportunity. This is great.
Of course. And there is a bonus episode. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but thank you again. You could listen to this podcast as well as other interviews at transactioncarepodcast.com. And my name is Lillian Hernandez, aka Lily like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. And until the next episode, I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.